Hello, and welcome to Realign Journey, the unfiltered guide to self-discovery and reconnection. I'm Sierra Sambrowski, your host, and together we'll deep dive the topics that have caused us to lose touch with ourselves and explore ways to reconnect to our true self. This season, though, I'm bringing to you stories of my guests that have been really impactful and pivotal to them, the kind that have completely realigned them, making them think totally different of themselves, their world, their lives, their choices, all of it. And this week, I have with me Melissa Robinson-Winemiller, who is a leadership coach and consultant that teaches EQ via empathy. What's most unique about Melissa is that she has honed her 30 plus years of leadership experience into the ability to help her clients and audiences create actionable EQ within their leadership style and organizations. Her vision is to instill EQ via empathy in every organization she touches for increased innovation, productivity, and revenue. Hello, Melissa. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Sierra. Thanks so much for having me. This is so exciting.
I know. I'm so excited to have you. I know that you have had many moments that have shifted, enlightened you about who you are and sent you in different directions than you had planned up to that point, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we want to hear whatever one you want to start with. Do you feel like has was maybe one of the biggest?
I was thinking about this because we had chatted about it earlier.
Yeah.
And of course, it got my creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
And the one I'd really like to start with is one that happened to me when I was 27. So it was a little bit later, but I actually won a competition to go to Rome for a summer and play as a soloist with the Rome Festival Orchestra.
That's
And
amazing.
this was
Okay.
like huge.
Yeah, I was just saying, and first of all, 27 is not really later because I'm having pivotal moments in my 40s. So
It's true. It's true. They never stop, really, do they?
no, they really don't. They really don't. But okay, so you won this opportunity to go play with the symphony in Rome.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe we should back up and explain to people how is it that you would be in a symphony? Because people, I didn't, that wasn't part of your little intro that I gave. Do you want to share that part first?
A- Absolutely. So I was one of those artsy kids that knew, like, really, really young, 4, 5, 6 years old, that I was going to be a musician. And I didn't
Hmm.
know how, I didn't know when. I just knew I absolutely loved music. And this was not part of my family. Like, a lot of musicians are kind of born into it, so they grow up
Hmm.
around it. No, no. My family, my dad was enlisted military, so there wasn't a ton of money there, and my mom was a housewife. So the fact that I was this caught up in music was just kind of like, well, we have no idea where this one came from, but we're sure
Yeah.
the spaceship's coming back for her at any moment now. It's just the
Yeah.
way it was. So
Doesn't
I
sound
had
like a
been,
particularly creative environment.
no, no, by no means.
No.
I mean, it was a very middle class military upbringing. We moved
Yeah.
every 2 years, and the thing is because we moved every 2 years, I was always being pulled into different situations.
Mm.
So my music was the one foundational thing that I could bring with me every single place. You
Oh,
know, there was no
that makes a
family.
lot of sense.
Yeah. Our family was a long way away. I didn't even know most of my cousins and aunts and stuff. And we would bounce like from New Orleans to Seattle.
Mm.
So there'd be these massive culture shocks, but I always had my music. That's what,
Right.
that was
Created
my,
some stability and continuity for you.
right. That was
Yeah.
my safe place.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I
Okay.
knew that growing up. And so I was like geared in high school. I worked my butt off and I got a full ride for undergrad. It was a
Hmm.
smaller school. It was University of Northern Iowa, but they paid for it. So I figured that's a
That's
win.
awesome. Yeah.
you
Heck
know,
yeah.
and from there I worked my butt off. And I mean, like in undergrad, I was the one that was like cleaning houses around, doing stuff like that to make the extra money,
Yeah.
because it paid full tuition, but it didn't pay anything else.
Right.
So from there, while, other college kids were doing what college kids were doing, I was practicing, and I managed to get into Yale, which was also a big deal because I was not
Yeah.
legacy. I was just a really
Earned.
hard worker.
Yeah.
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 So I knew this was what was going to happen. But then when I graduated from Yale, I got married, which was not the
Mm.
best idea, but I was getting the, well, you're 25 and you should really, consider this music thing isn't working for you and you should, which is ridiculous in hindsight. But when you're young,
And of our generation, I mean,
yeah,
people didn't wait like they do now till their 30s to have families and to, get married. I mean, now it's common. Now you hear of lots of young men and women not getting married and even thinking about kids to closer to 40 sometimes. I mean, but that
yeah,
was not the case in our generation for sure.
no.
It's certainly not the ones previous to us.
Oh my goodness, no,
Right.
no. And it's just the way we were brought up.
Right.
It's just kind of what the expectation was.
Yeah.
But I just didn't fit the mold. So that dissolved within about 2 years. And then I was
Hmm.
kind of spinning out because it was like, well, I left my doctorate that I actually started my doctorate in music 3 times before I finished it because just life kept getting in the way.
Right.
So I had this divorce. I was trying to work my way back into music. I had kind of moved 3 or 4 times, and I saw this flyer come through about the Rome Festival Orchestra. It was like, well, send in your application, send in your, tape. Because in the day we would send a tape of us playing,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and, and then you would go through the whole process. And I was chosen, which actually blew my mind because it was like, great, I was chosen. I have no money to do this at all. So I did the insane and completely irresponsible thing. I got a credit card that I shouldn't have had. I bought a plane ticket because once I was there, they paid me. They took care of
Right.
room and board, they took care of hotel, they took care of food, but I still had to get myself there. So I got the
Right.
plane ticket and hopped the plane to Rome with $50 in my pocket for the whole summer.
Oh my gosh. That's so brave.
Or
I mean, because
something.
you didn't really know how that was going to impact your life or, what the end all outcome was going to be. But
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I probably would have done it also, honestly, because I'm like, but it's an experience I might never have again.
Right, exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
when do I get to? I mean, what was I going to hang around for? I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I had one cat, but I had a friend who was willing to step up and help out with old Ernest. So it
Yeah.
was like, all right, I got nothing to lose. Let's do it. And it turned out to be one of the most pivotal experiences of my life because
Mm,
here you are in this city of culture. I got from the hostel to where we would have rehearsals. I had to walk by the Coliseum every morning, twice a day, morning and night. It was just
yeah.
like phenomenal.
Surreal.
Yeah, yeah. It's like right there in the middle, and just like absorbing this culture from these people that go so far back, going to the Vatican and seeing all of the Da Vinci paintings and the Sistine Chapel, going to all the little nooks and crannies all over the city, the food. Oh my God,
Mm,
you know? And
yeah.
I was 27, so who cared? I was just
Right.
going to go do it. And then on top of it, to get to play these great masterworks with this orchestra, and then to stand up and play Mozart's Fourth Horn Concerto in front of them. It was like a dream come true. It was like, I can do this. I can
Yeah.
do this. It doesn't matter what anybody has said. I've got this. Whatever it is, I've got it.
Well, I mean, that's my immediate question that pops into my brain straight away is like, what is this? Like, was it for you very specifically, I can do this as in music and make music a career, a focal part of my life? Or was it just I can do anything?
It was a little bit of both
Hmm.
because music is so competitive. And if you go into it, you get this beat into you, like from a very young age all the way up, that your chances are slim to none. You have a better chance of being a walk on a major sports team than to be the one single French horn player in these orchestras and that sort of thing. It's the odds are just against you from the beginning. So you always
Mm,
try to be very positive and be upbeat and be like, yes, I can do it, I can do it. But yet you've got these statistics in your face all the
yeah.
time, and you're looking around and when you're in school and stuff, like when I was at Yale, I'm looking around at the people that I was there. The studio was capped at 6. So internationally, they took 3 French horn players a year. They would alternate 3 one year and then 3 the next. So it's like, okay, I made it in here and I got this, but what are my odds? Now I'm here with like 6 of the best people in the world, and there might be one symphony job come open. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. Can I do this? I said I could do this, but can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to win that and be like, yeah, I'm walking out here on the stage in Rome in my dress black. And yes, I can do this. And how do I know? Because I'm proving it right now. I can hear
Yeah.
my shoes on the stage. I got this,
Yeah.
you know?
Is that a moment that you draw on then for all the rest of your days? Like, are there still moments today where you like, if I can do that, I can do anything? If I can do that, I can get up and give a speech, or I can go ziplining, or whatever the hell it is, right? Like, I say that because I tried ziplining for my one sister's name is Melissa also. And so for her 40th birthday, all she wanted to do was go ziplining.
Oh,
And I was terrified. And of course she chose the highest course and all this other shit. And once you get on, you can't get off. There's no getting off.
yeah.
Um, and I pushed myself through it horrified, completely horrified the entire time. And everybody's like, "Oh, you did it. Don't you feel better now?" And I was like, "Fuck no. I absolutely do not feel better. Yes, did I push myself through it? Yes, I did. And I have zero desire to ever do it again. It did not get easier by the end of the course. So, I mean, I guess that's what comes to mind is like, you did this, you went through all these like basic, I don't know, we'll go back to that. What kind of fears did you have about buying the plane ticket and actually pursuing this? Or did you have nothing at that point and you were just like, hell yeah, here I go?
Oh, no, it was all fear. And
Yeah.
part of it too is that that's what I had always gotten from my parents, especially my mom. You need to be level-headed. You need to think ahead. You don't think of the implications. You gotta, not in those words, but I could
Mm-hmm.
hear this constant, number one, getting a credit card is foolhardy. Number two, putting a plane ticket on it is just as foolhardy. Number three, leaving with no job and no security and no sure thing. And with $50, what are you doing? This is
Yeah.
insane. You're out
Yeah.
of your mind. And then
Yeah.
to top it all off, it isn't just the getting there. I mean, the travel had me worried because here I'm going to go drop down in this country by myself where I don't really speak the language and just
Right.
hope for the best and just see what happens. But then once I get there, I have to be able to perform
Right.
because when you get in these groups, you're expected to be able to produce and produce and produce and produce. And if you're standing up in front of this group playing a 37-minute concerto completely from memory, there's no net. It's kind of like ziplining. You're not getting off. I'm not crawling off
Yeah.
this stage till it's done and all eyes are on me. I
Yeah.
better be ready to go. So yeah, there was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
you know?
So you pushed through all that. What was that voice in your head that said, just try it, Melissa? I mean, is that what it was saying to you? Like, because here's the thing, you and I both know this. There are people that are paralyzed by fear their entire lives. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody else today. I actually just gave myself chills when I said that to you. So apparently people really need to hear that. Um,
Mhm.
but I was having this conversation today or yesterday about the fact that fear can be really subliminal and really unconscious too. And
Yeah.
that the truth of the matter is that fear sounds just like those things you were saying. Fear sounds like you should be more responsible. What are you thinking? Is that really the best use of your time and money? How is this planning for your future? Like, people think that this is very sane and logical, and I will throw down with anybody right now and say that is fear. That is fucking fear. that is telling you those things.
Yeah, I agree.
But we are programmed to do it. So what was that voice in your head that had you, like, what was it saying to you? Do you even remember? That got you to just overlook all that and say, I know what everybody's gonna say. I know what this might mean for me, but I'm gonna go do it anyway.
You know, the thing that I come back to, and it's the same voice that got me to audition at Yale, even though I knew I didn't stand a chance.
Mm,
And that got me to apply for these academic jobs, even though I knew I didn't stand a chance. And it's twofold. One is, what do you have to lose?
mm.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of life, what really do I have to lose? Okay, there's some money and there's some time. And yeah, I'm kind of putting myself out there, but I'm not going to lose an arm. I'm not going to be knocked unconscious, hopefully. I'm not going to die. And if I'm not going to die, then anything else is recoverable. Some things longer than others, but
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
anything else is recoverable. And I
mm.
just keep coming back to this idea that I had been getting from books and stuff that I had been reading. Because if there's one thing musicians are, we are very woo. So we love the personal development and the mindset and the inner game of music and the all of that.
Okay.
So
I see. I didn't know that, Melissa. I would have actually thought a lot of musicians would be very practical and disciplined and structured and not in the
no,
land of woo and personal development.
you are walking out on stage naked for all practical
Yeah,
purposes. I
I
mean,
agree.
just like, pro athletes will have their lucky underwear or their
Yeah,
mantras, or we'll get
yeah.
into that. Yeah, high level performing artists are the same way.
A lot of superstition around things and
Oh, yeah. I can't go out
okay.
because I can't find my lucky mouthpiece kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. 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 See, this is shedding light already. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. But that idea of the super focus and that you are more powerful than you know.
Mm,
You are more powerful than you know. And that's the mantra, because I mean I'd been devastated in the divorce, even though it only lasted 2 years. And it was, I mean, let's be real, it was a training wheels marriage, and we should all get at least one, because if you don't do anything else right the first time, then why would marriage be any different?
that's a
But
valid point.
neither one of us were suited for the marriage.
Hmm.
I'll put as much fault on me as him, because neither one of us should have done it, but we both
Right.
did, and there we were. But it still was devastating to me. And, I caught it from my family as well, that, well, gee, that didn't take you long, kind of thing. So I had to kind of pull back in and just remember, I am more powerful than I realize. That
Mm,
which I think is me is not the part that's going to walk out on the stage, is not the part that's
mm,
going to board the plane, is not the one that's going to go see the Trevi Fountain and the Vatican and all these amazing museums. The part of me that sits here and pays bills, that's not that person.
mm.
So that woo came right back to the surface.
And it was all about saying to yourself, I am more powerful than this.
Yes. What I think I see is not real.
Mm,
The me that I see sitting eating Cheetos in my sweats and thinking, I can't do this. This is irresponsible. That's not me. That person, that's a part of me, but that isn't the person that wants to go out and shine, that wants to be a brilliant diamond.
mm. I love that. I know people needed to hear that too, because there's a lot of shame and guilt. And was that
Yes.
part of your journey in the being a musician, even in your family? Like, was there some shame and guilt around the fact that like you would shine, that you would go out and be stepping out on stage? And I guess this is a projected question because I know for me, I was very interested in music, singing wise,
Hmm.
and I loved to act when I was young. And there was a lot of um, rhetoric in my house directed towards me that was this, who do you think you are? This doesn't make you any better than the rest of us, kind of thing.
Yes.
there was actual comments that like, well, I didn't want you to get a big head. So no one was, you know, cheering me on, or they didn't want to make too big of a deal about it. So there was a lot of guilt and shame, and it really wore down. It didn't take me long, probably not even a full teenager, probably like preteen, before I was like, well, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. It actually just gave me chills when you said that because I've heard those verbatim. Who do you think you
Mm,
are? Or
mm,
my dad's favorite was always, don't forget where you came from.
mm,
You
mm.
know,
Yeah.
whatever you think you're doing, that's not who we are. And
Mm,
that's been a struggle. It has. But the hard thing is, so I'm a big believer that people do the best they can with what they have at the time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though those things came from my parents, I really believe that they wanted the best for me and they were
Absolutely.
trying. Yeah.
They
You
think they're
know,
protecting you in some sort of way. I
yes.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to remember that just because otherwise I get kind of angry about it and I don't want to be angry about it
Mm,
because I think they really were doing the best they could. This was so outside of their purview. This
yeah.
was just like they had no idea what this was.
Right.
I won
Right.
my first concerto competition when I was 14. And I remember my mom almost just kind of freaking out because she had no idea what to do. It's not like she had any experience with this. So the first
Right.
time I played a concerto on stage from memory, I was 14.
Wow. And so what did your
And
mom do?
she did the best she could. We talked
Was
to the
was there
guy.
a little was
Go
that?
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, was there like a little celebration? Did she take you for some ice cream or something? Or
Nope. There was no, don't forget where you came from. Don't get a big head.
Mm.
I mean, when I graduated from Yale, there was nobody there at my graduation.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
The guy I was going to marry, he did show up. But I mean, from my family,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Because don't forget who you are.
And they thought, did they actively think that by showing up and supporting you that day, do you think, I mean, looking back on it, or maybe you've had this conversation with them, did they actively think by showing up and supporting you that day that it was somehow perpetuating you becoming arrogant or too full of yourself or something?
I think they thought that I was going to graduate and I would get this music nonsense out of my system. And then I would settle down and get married and be a good little wife and a good little mother and that kind of thing, which is kind
Mm.
of why I ended up getting married right after I graduated. So I think they thought it was just like, oh, well, this is over. Now we can get down to actually living a real life.
So
And
was not coming part of the like punishment to get you to fall in line?
I don't think it was a punishment necessarily. I think they already thought that chapter was closed. So why bother?
Oh,
It was more like it just didn't even register. It was like, yeah, all right, next thing.
yeah, yeah. So how do they take it then when you tell them you're going to Rome? Well, you already said they were like, what the hell's the matter with you?
Oh my God. My mom lost it. My mom was, well, I don't want to say she lost it. My mom was not that kind of, she passed in 2007. She wasn't a big display of anything. She didn't get mad. She didn't freak out. She didn't, but she was definitely disapproving of the whole
Mm,
idea. And I
mm-hmm,
think part of it is that it meant that the music thing was back and that it hadn't, because in between that time, so when I left my husband, I actually managed to, there's a pattern here for me. I got into law
mm-hmm.
school. And so I was like, okay, maybe the music thing is dead, but I don't have to just sit in the corner either. So I went to law school for a year. And what I learned is that I would rather eat glass than be around lawyers in that capacity for the rest of my life. That's nothing against lawyers,
Yeah,
but it was not a good fit.
yeah. You just did not jive with them. That was
Nope.
not your vibe.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think they had seen other things on my horizon and they were surprised when I was like, nope, I'm going back to music. And by the way, I'm going to go to Rome to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but this is another way that you were really willing to face that disapproval. I mean, 'cause, you know, you said you were going to Rome. I mean, but this is another way that you were really willing to face that disapproval. I mean, 'cause, you know, you said you were going to Rome. I mean, but this is another way that you were really willing to face that disapproval. I mean, you were very conscious of the idea that they did not want you to pursue music. So even if you wouldn't have gone to Rome in a foolish manner, you know, but with the plane ticket on the credit card and only $50 in your pocket, even if you wouldn't have been going to Rome, just merely going back to music would have also taken a lot of courage on your part, a lot of, I want to do this. This is who I am, despite however you're going to make me feel and what you're going to do about it.
Yeah. And that's partially why it was so pivotal for me, because I put my foot down and I said, yes, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. This is where I'm going. And I'm
Mm,
not stopping until either I get where I'm going or I fold up in a ball in the corner and I can't go anymore. It's going to be
mm,
one or the other, which served me very well right up until it didn't.
mm.
But, you
So
know,
what happened when it didn't? I'm guessing that was another pivotal moment.
it was. And this one you kind of know about. This is when I went out to teach. So I was
Hmm.
teaching out on the West Coast and I'd gotten my big job and I was so excited because for a French horn professor, you're lucky if there's like 5 in the nation in a year. There just aren't that many. So to get that kind of an academic position is like huge. So I
Mm.
packed up my stuff and I went out west and my dad's in Wisconsin. So you can tell the way I say it, right? Wisconsin.
And how long
But
was this after Rome?
this would have been 8 years, nine
Okay.
years,
Okay.
9 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I put
Anyway.
my head down and I got my doctorate and I played in symphonies and I gigged everywhere I could. And I was laying that foundation. I was grinding,
Hmm. Hmm.
you
And
know,
teaching was always your goal at some point?
playing and teaching
Okay.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, you want both. That a
Yes.
girl. You want both. I want both. Excellent.
Absolutely. And so I was so excited, but I had that nose to the grindstone, never say die kind of attitude.
Hmm.
And I took this job, and even in the interview, my instinct was saying, don't take it, don't take it, don't take it, don't take it. There's something wrong. There's something not right. There's just don't do it, don't do it. But I was just like,
Mm.
nope, I got my professorship. I am going. I'm going to make this work. Going to bend it to my submission. And then I got there, and within 3 months, I was assaulted by one of my fellow faculty members in the
Mm.
office right next door to me. And had I not been quite so driven, and had I taken the time to actually listen to what my intuition was telling me,
Hmm.
I could have saved myself a lot of heartache.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So that was it for the teaching then.
It was, but it actually drug on for 7 years because I
Mm.
kept thinking, if I just worked harder, if I just tried harder, if I just did more, I can bring this around. I can show that they're wrong. I can prove that I am who I think I am and not who they say I am. And it
Because
actually
you
took
stayed at
7 years.
the school.
Huh?
You stayed at that school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's that's important. That's where that wanting to prove yourself came from, was because you stayed in that environment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was not going to give up, but it at that point it no longer served me. I should have run screaming, and I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's been a slow, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, go wherever you need to with it. But I'm guessing that that has been then a slow walk back to that young Melissa at 27 that went to Rome and pulled all the power inside and was like, I'm more powerful than this.
It has. It was about 7 years worth of yuck,
Hmm.
and it's taken about 7 years to come back out of it again.
Hmm.
And it's been a very slow process because this time I couldn't bring my music with me. And having to leave that behind to be able to transform is probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Mm.
I actually grieved that. I hate to admit it, but I've actually grieved that even harder than I did when my mom passed in some ways.
Yeah. Well, clearly music has been, I mean, you associate with your sense of power, but it was so deeply a sense of you. Like
Yes.
that your music had truly from a young age was born in you, is this extension in you. It sounds like it was like your superhero cape. It was, it was the way some kids have blankies, you had music. Like it stabilized you, it made you feel the best about yourself, it made you feel invincible, it gave you a greater sense of yourself. Like there was a lot tied to it.
Yeah. And my whole sense of identity had gotten wrapped up in it as well. So to be
Mm,
able to tease it out and remember that I wasn't the music actually took a lot of doing. Because I mean, I started this when I was young, and a lot of your formational
right,
stuff happens before you're 7.
right, yeah, of
So
course.
I couldn't separate the two for a long time. Still can't some days.
I was gonna say, how do you even begin to like, what is, I think what's really important for anybody to listen to is that so many of us have really done that exact same thing in one shape or form or another. Like for you, it was your music. For some people, it is becoming a mother. For some people, it is their career, even that's different than music, right? For some people, it's being the daughter. For some people, it's being the sister. Like we've all, to some degree, or not, or another, whether we're aware of it or not, have ingrained something outside of ourselves as part of our identity,
Yes.
as part of, if I am not that, then I don't know who I am.
Yes.
So I think it would be really beneficial if you can put it to words or pinpoint it, to share whatever it is. Like, how did that begin for you? How did that untangling? So funny because I literally am seeing like the untwining of a piece of yarn. You know how there's all the fibers that are all twisted together? Like the I'm seeing like this vision of like what you're doing is untwisting that single strand of wool, right? And
Yeah.
there's all these little fibers in there, and you're being asked to extract one that was in the heart of it.
Yeah.
So how
And
how have you done that?
I don't know that I've been completely successful because
Sure.
there are still classical pieces in particular that I'll avoid because they just shatter me,
Mm,
especially French horn music, because that was my instrument,
right.
or super French horn heavy, even movie soundtracks, classical pieces, any of that. I mean, like listening to John Williams will choke me up because of all the big swoopy French horn, Princess Leia, Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
I just adored. So I don't know that I've actually been able to completely untangle that strand. I think it just goes too deep.
Yeah.
But what I have been able to do is find something that I'm as passionate about and that I feel has such a great, heavy importance that I feel like I'm called deep down to do it and I can't ignore it. That
Mm-hmm.
I have to do this. I have to bring this idea of EQ and empathy out because it's just that necessary. If anybody I had talked to at PSU when this stuff was going on had actually had any kind of EQ or empathy, this wouldn't have happened,
Mm-hmm.
but it did. And now I can take that fever and that burning desire and pour it into something else. I'm not dead without it. I still have a lot to burn and a lot to live. And this is what I want to do because it's that important.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me as I'm listening to you, one of the things that comes up for as kind of to reflect back to you is not that, and you and I have spoken this before. Music will never be completely unentwined with who you are because we can still have these deep loves, these deep passions, these places and things and people and activities that feel like home for us, that feel like they are on a soul level, just woven into who we are and the way that we're supposed to experience life. That can't, and I believe that to be true for you, for your music. And that can't be extracted from you unless you want to like be in misery and total like purgatory here on earth for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
However, I think what you have been able to transcend and what you have been able to unentwine, I don't know what the right word for that is, from this, untangle from this, though, is the idea that music is not how you find your own value, how you don't see, like, that you are worthy and valuable beyond music. You've been able to expand your spectrum of how you see yourself and how you can feel good about yourself and be proud of yourself and find love for yourself and safety. Because we talked about this even at the beginning multiple times now about how like music was really consistent for you and it was really safe for you in a lot of ways. So you've been able to adopt and find these other ways outside of music that you can feel safe for yourself, safe in your life, consistent for yourself, consistent in your life.
Yeah. I actually think that's extremely accurate because I did wrap my value up in that to the point that so I had always kind of grown up with this belief that, okay, I can do music, but she's not great at math, and she's not a great student, and she's pretty so at this stuff. She can write okay, but it's just the beliefs that I had gotten instilled in me. And part of that was because we moved every 2 years. I was always playing catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never really allowed to rise to whatever level I could get at. I was always behind. So I looked like I couldn't really keep up very well. So when
Mm-hmm.
I finally left music, one of the things in my mind was, well, now what do I do? And realizing that the academic job I had been in, after that assault, there was a lot of garbage that got thrown around, well,
Mm-hmm.
no, you can't teach there. You're too stupid. No, you can't. You're not a good player. You're not paying to play at Carnegie Hall, which the dirty secret is you don't get invited to play at Carnegie Hall. You pay to play at Carnegie Hall. And you know what kind of
Really?
money? Yeah. You know what kind of money I wasn't making as a professor? The
Yeah.
money to pay for Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but so
Oh,
I
damn.
came to believe all this stuff that you're lazy, you're stupid, you can't play, you can't do this, you can't. So in getting out, I was like, all right, I'm going to face my fear on this stuff. Let's see what I can't do. So I actually enrolled in an MBA. So I have all these degrees and stuff, but it's not because I want to have stacks of degrees necessarily. It's more because I had to prove to myself that number one, I wasn't completely used up. And number two, that I might have been smarter than they gave me credit for.
Mm.
Because as a musician, to actually do a degree in data analytics after being told that you can't do
Oh,
math and
damn.
stupid, yeah.
Yeah.
So I needed to prove to myself that I really was who I thought I was and not who they said I was.
Yeah.
And that
And
helped
it,
in defining that value.
yeah. I was thinking, and again, it sounds to me like there's so much, even if it was unconscious, it seems like this would have been a moment where it was really facing a lot of fear.
Yeah. Well, it was because I was like, if I can't do music, then what can I do? I've been told my whole life I can't do any of this other stuff. I've been told that I don't have the business mind, that I don't have the math acumen, that my writing's okay, but it's not great. You're just a musician, you know? What good are you? You're just, I mean, when I went and I started applying for jobs, here I am. I've got a master's from Yale and a doctorate. And the best I could get was secretarial work because it was just like, you're just a musician. And it's like, no, wait, I can do all this other stuff. No, you're just a musician.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, let me see your Yale degree. What was yours in? Oh, wait, you don't have one.
Oh no, the response was always, oh, well, it's just as good as state college, isn't it? I mean, there's really nothing special about it. You just spent a lot of extra money.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
that was the response. And after you hear it enough times, you start going, oh, yeah, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it was like this whittling down of your belief in yourself after really having there be music reference, this big crescendo for it, right? Like it was building up and building up
Yep.
in you, really like coming to this place in Italy,
Yeah.
and then it was just eroded away rather quickly and then even deeper, further away.
Yeah. The Melissa who went to Rome at 27 that showed no fear got that beaten out of her during
Mm,
that 7 years that I was out west. And it was hard and it was slow and it was extremely painful. I mean, to finally reach a point that I was like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not this, and walk away, to actually
mm,
be pushed into that place took 7 years, which tells you just how important it was to me and how unwilling I was to let it go.
yeah. Was it music or was it wanting to prove to people that you could be something in music, that you could use music as a way to be your life, be your income, be your profession?
It was a little bit of both, but mostly it was the music because it's so competitive that if you have a job, you'll hang on to it like till you die. In order to
Mm,
look for positions, you watch obituaries. I mean, it's
yeah.
just really that competitive. And it's even worse. More and more symphonies have gone under. A lot of the LA sound studios, they work with very small orchestras, or not at all. They use a lot of pop music. And because of that, there's not, the teaching positions are going away too, because who wants to learn music when there's no jobs to have?
Hmm.
So it just, I was so afraid that if I let go of that job, that I was never going to be able to find another one. And that's exactly what happened.
Were you afraid that music would no longer be a part of your life?
I was afraid that performing at a top level was no longer going to be part of my life because I just had so much joy in producing that sound at a certain level with a group of people that were at a certain level. And there's something when you're sitting on stage, and I'm sitting in the back, and in the brass section I'm probably the only girl, or one of
Hmm.
like two, because it's always the guys back there, but you get this big wash of sound, and when you're on stage you actually feel it go right through you, and just like it's like getting hit by a wave.
Mm,
And I haven't had experiences like that since.
interesting.
Yeah.
It makes, I was say, oh, my head just went somewhere totally else, not part of this conversation. I was just thinking, like, I wonder what kind of sound, sort of sound therapy could be created to help people become more empathetic and enhance their EQ, honestly.
I've wondered that too, because sound really is just energy. Sound waves are just energy. That's it. And even if you go back to like the ancient Greeks, they used to say that if you played in certain modes, which would be like, certain ways of collecting tones, so they sounded like a scale in a certain way. But
Hmm.
like this mode would ready men for war, and this mode would bring the lover's heart to bear, and this mode would make the hardest heart melt, and this kind of thing. And I've often wondered, they don't really know what these modes sound like, but I've often wondered, is there actually something out there that could do that? Because if you're dealing energetically and this stuff is washing over you, and I mean, there's so many studies about how the human body interacts with energy. What if?
Well, not
What
only
if?
energy, but what about frequency and vibration? I mean,
Absolutely.
that is sound. It's
Yep.
frequency and vibration. Even if you break it down in a different way, people are like, I don't want to talk about energy. Okay. Well, you do understand that it's frequency and vibration, though.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there are also a ton of studies out there now. that are showing that our emotions, our physicality, our cell reproduction, all these things are affected by frequency and vibration.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. This has crossed my mind many times in different guises for many years. And
yeah.
I keep wondering that if there would be a way of actually doing like sound immersion for empathy and EQ or something. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm playing with it. I don't know.
I was saying, I'm pretty sure there is. I'm leaving it to you to be the one to figure that out and to bring that to the world. Um, do you think, I was saying before we wrap up, do you think, and maybe it's tied to what we were just talking about, do you think that music and you being so deeply too connected to music has enhanced or cultivated or deepened your empathy and your emotional intelligence? Like, do you think for you personally that has played a role?
For me personally, yeah, without a doubt. Because I always connected to the music on a very emotional level. And
Hmm.
not all musicians do that. Some of them are just technicians and they're like phenomenal technicians or, juggernauts at what they do,
Hmm.
but they don't necessarily have that connection. It's just a job.
Right.
And for me, it was always a really deeply emotional thing because it really was like a friend.
Hmm.
So I related to it on a very emotional level.
Hmm. Do you see that with others?
Other musicians or other people,
Other
or
people in general?
I do. I do. Especially like, well, I mean, I spent most of my time with like college kids and younger, I shouldn't call them
Hmm.
kids, they're not, they're adults, but the relationship that people have with music, especially at younger ages when they're more open to it,
Hmm.
it really can be an extremely deep and abiding one. And even as adults, you're bopping along and all of a sudden you hear this Thompson Twins song from back in the 80s and you remember your first dance and da, 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 and it has this emotional connection.
It
So
invokes it. Yeah.
yeah, they say that's one of the best things that you can do for like Alzheimer's patients is bring in music that will connect them with their memories and that sort of thing because it's going to
Hmm.
have much stronger correlation than just talking to them.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me personally, it had, it still does. Not only does it invoke that memory, but there's certainly certain songs, even if they don't mean anything to me from past experience, will absolutely make me feel better or make me feel more angry. Like I'm definitely sensitive to music. And
Yeah,
definitely music invokes memories for me, not always good ones, but um yeah, I know for me personally it does. So I just wondered if that was something that you have kind of started to explore, even sort of off the record, like as a hobby, for yourself, and if is there any element of that that you bring in when you work with your clients?
I do actually, especially if they happen to be someone who is very musically sensitive or really enjoys that kind of thing, because you can actually ask, well, what song makes you feel happy? What song makes you feel sad? What song makes you, and in that way you can start to connect with emotions, which means
Hmm.
that then you can start to connect with emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
So it really is a pathway if people are open to it.
Yeah.
Smell will do that too, weirdly, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I know.
you know,
I'm kind of sensitive to that too, but we're talking
yeah.
about with you and music. So I was just saying though, really we totally sidetracked off of this whole, but that's okay. Anybody that listens to me know that this is exactly how my episodes go. We don't like follow any kind of straight and linear path, just like our lives do not follow any kind of straight and linear path. We meander all over helter skelter sometimes. So
Well, since life doesn't follow a straight or linear path, I think you're on the right track.
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Can you please tell everyone though? I know that you have a YouTube channel. I mean, we talked in your intro quickly about your work that you do with people, but where can they connect to you and learn more about you and see all your amazing talks and all that?
Absolutely. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Empathic Leader. And I really would love for people to join me there because I'm trying to turn it more into a community because that's where I can really, it's kind of like a playground with this stuff where we can talk about it and discuss it and be able to really, give it roots and get it to bear fruit. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Melissa Robinson-Winemiller. And I do have a website, which is EQ via empathy, which is
Oh,
what I
okay.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really what I do. I teach EQ and I use empathy as the vehicle to get people there because EQ is a hot thing, but to
Mm-hmm.
having it is one thing, using it's another, you
Yeah.
know? And I don't want to just say, well, this is EQ and this is what it is, and da da da. I want to say, okay, now let's plug this in. How do you use this? How do you use this to increase innovation with your employees? How do you use this to be able to increase your profit, to be able to get your employee turnover down, to basically make a much happier workforce, which is going to benefit everybody? That's
Mm-hmm.
really what it's about. And I will have a book coming out in September, which
You will?
I will, and I'm very
Oh,
excited.
yeah. What's it going to be called?
It is The Empathic Leader: How EQ via Empathy Transforms Leadership for Better Profit, Productivity, and Innovation.
Very nice. And I'm sure if they connect with you and follow along, then they will be able to stay updated on all of that amazing stuff. I will put your website into the show notes. So that way, anybody listening that wants to connect with you that way, or go check you out on that manner, then they can.
That would be fantastic. And any leaders that are out there that are just kind of looking around and they're like, I'm having trouble with my revenue. I'm having trouble with my employees. I'm having trouble with productivity. Might be me, might not be me. I don't know. I mean, we can always talk and I can say if I can help you or not. I can't help in every situations, but the ones I can help a lot. So
Yeah, no doubt about that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your personal story with us and the things that you've learned in life
Absolutely.
so far.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been delightful and I've had such a good time. And thanks to your audience. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you to my sojourners for tuning in for another episode. We are so grateful that you were here this week and hope that you will come back next week.